Yes, before coming to human form of life, generally one goes through all the 8,400,000 species of life, unless somebody engages in the service of the Lord, in which case we will be immediately promoted to human form of life. For example, you cook rice or make chapati and offer to the Lord, all the plants which are used for cooking in that, they all will get immediately human form of life. So there is sudden jump. But otherwise, there is one by one, one by one, one by one. But in human form of life, the next is dependent on our free will, how we act, and what we want. What do you want, and how do you act? Means what kind of desires we have, whom you want to be with, and how you want to be like. The the freedom is given in human form of life. So after human form of life, it is in our hands. Up to the human form of life, it is not in our hands. We automatically promoted, or somebody by engaging us in God's service, we immediately promoted to human form of life. But otherwise, we'll go in a hierarchy one after another. That's why human form of life is very important, not because we are very intelligent or we are smart. We have this extra understanding. We can question about our own existence, about the universe, about the person who created the universe, our relationship with the universe, and the person who created the universe, our purpose. So if we get into that, interested in that, then human form of life we have utilized, then at least human form of life is guaranteed. Otherwise, if we are only engaged in other 8,400,000 species of life, then we don't need human form of life. It can be given to somebody more serious. And we will get human form of life again after long. So therefore, Lord's mercy is unlimited. And Lord always gives chance. It is not that one time you are given chance and then you are permanently shut to heaven or hell. Mathematically, it is not, because biodiversity is only a fraction of the Lord. So mathematically, it is not. But mathematically, if you have love for God, you have love for all the biodiversity, because whole universe is inside the Lord. Soul is soul, neither good or bad, just like a knife. Is a knife good or bad? Neither good nor bad, but how it is engaged, it makes is good or bad. So the intention of engagement of the knife makes it good or bad. In the hands of physician, it is very good. In the hands of mother, is very good. It makes nice sabji. But in the hands of a criminal, it is very bad. So similarly, soul is neither good nor bad. It is all good actually. But it is depends on how it is engaged. And who engaged the soul? Knife, others engage, but the soul engaged itself. So it depends on how we engage ourselves. If we engage ourselves in good things, we are good. If we engage in wrong things, we are bad. So it depends on the intention of the soul. Yeah, definitely. Soul wants enjoyment. Anandamaya abhyasad. So nature of soul is to go after happiness. There is no surprise in that. What they say is very easy, but they are not shown alternative happiness. The person who is stealing his thing, that is a happiness, but he doesn't know there is higher happiness without stealing, without guilt, and by sharing. Instead of stealing, by sharing, there is a higher happiness. And similarly, material happiness is not condemned. But material happiness, we don't need to spend fortune of our time to get material happiness. So Prahlad Maharaj is a great devotee. He says, Sukham ayandrikam daityat deha yogena dehina sarvatra labhyate daivat yatha dukkam ayatnataha. See, suffering we are not trying, but it is coming. Similarly, happiness also will come. So for that, we don't have to spend our whole life, all time. And in the human form of life, we should also search for higher happiness. So because they don't have any good association, example of a person or who is happy without with God consciousness. So by coming to spirituality, it is a myth that one has to give up all enjoyment. We don't give up eating. There are devotees who get married, they do job, they eat, they do everything. There is nothing to lose. It's only a misconception spread by some miscreants. Not going to forest either. Now we are giving up our Zoom and mobile. So not our laptop. So where is the question of losing our happiness? So is Krishna consciousness or the God consciousness or spirituality is the art of connecting everything with God. And one can be truly happy. Because real happiness is not in enjoying senses. Real happiness in exchanging. If somebody is there in your life who can really love you, that is the true happiness. And that is possible only through God consciousness. Otherwise, so-called love also is centered around taking happiness from other person for the senses. We love only as long as we get sensual happiness, and then immediately dump. So we go into depression. So this kind of happiness is also described in Bhagavad Gita is in the mode of passion. Very big, very nice in the beginning, and soon it is in tragedy. So spirituality is beginning happy, middle happy, and also happy, and it is exponentially increasing. So it is only out of ignorance one thinks one has to give up happiness. Yeah, we are neither mind nor body, but but whatever the soul is using the mind and body. So therefore, it has implications, right? Like you are not the chaku, you are not the knife. But because you have used a knife, you become good or bad. Similarly, you are neither mind nor body, but because you are using them, how you use them will make you good or bad. So you take example of college. How do we know the purpose of college? We should know from the person who has built the college and from the person who has sent us to the college. Right? These are the two people who can tell what is the purpose of college and our purpose in college. So similarly, this universe has a purpose, our life has a purpose, human life has a purpose. So we should ask the person who has made this universe and who has sent us to this human form of life. And that is God. So purpose of the human life given by God is to love him, to again or to develop relationship with God, to realize that this world is temporary and to know that God is our father, spiritual father, and to love him. That is the purpose of human form of life. Yeah, dharma is not just belief. That is a wrong translation. Wrong translation of dharma. Dharma is not belief. Belief is viswas, or you can say some kind of shraddha. Shraddha is also not complete belief. Shraddha is also a combination of belief and intuition and evidence, some evidence, and then enthusiasm. These all come in. Dharma is the essential nature of certain thing. Dharma. So it is not a belief. We have somehow made it as a belief, religion as a belief, but dharma is not religion. Religion is little different. Dharma is, that's why we call Sanatana Dharma, our eternal function, which cannot be separated from us. That is, that we are spirit soul, and we are eternal fraction of God, and we are meant to be in association of the Lord in loving service. We have to know that rational proof is there, but empirical proof, everything you want to see, right? You can see God also. You can see God. So here we should know there are two things. One is subjective reality, objective reality. In objective reality, everybody can observe. A ball is there, everybody can observe. When we come to subjective reality, like taste, when I taste something, nobody else can know how it is tasting unless they also taste themselves, put on their tongue. So this is a reality in subjective nature, which is different from objective reality. Some people may eat sabji and say salt is more, somebody may salt is less. Subjective. So there is a subjective reality which we cannot transfer to another person. When I eat from Rasagulla, I will say it is sweet, but how is it sweet? There are hundreds of varieties of sweet. Also, all are sweet. How exactly they are sweet? That I cannot transfer that knowledge to you. That you have to do experiment yourself. Now, when we come to God, God is not a Rasagulla. You see, there is in case of Rasagulla, only the person who is doing experiment is subjective, but Rasagulla is objective. But in case of God, the person who is experimenting is also subjective. God is also subjective. So Rasagulla, you bring to under a microscope, it will immediately come. You put on your tongue, it will immediately come. But God, you want to bring him under microscope. You cannot. For example, you want to do some experiment on me, right? I won't allow you. There are many experiments they want to do on human beings. Human beings don't agree. That's why scientists, they do experiment on rats forcibly, because they're less powerful than us, less intelligent than us. So even people who are equal to us, we cannot do experiment on them. So now we are talking about God. How can you do experiment without his permission on him? You want God to come under microscope? How? So God, we cannot force God to come to experiment, but we can oblige God to come into our realm of experimentation. Not exact experimentation, realm of our observation. Means you can see him. So our acharyas say that if one renders service, start rendering service to the Lord, starting with tongue, by chanting his names or doing sankirtan and taking food offered to God, swayam eva spurati yada, then Lord will manifest himself. Then you can see. That is experiment. You can do experiment with your eyes. You will spurati swayam eva spurati yada. Then the Lord will appear to you by himself. Otherwise, we cannot force God to come under our microscope or our vision in the spectrum of our visibility. There are so many things which we cannot see, infrared rays. So God may appear in the infrared spectrum and we cannot see. Unless he appears in our visible spectrum, we cannot see. So therefore, if we start engaging in devotional service, bhakti, then swayam eva swatyada. So, atah Sri Krishna namadi na bhavet grahyam indriyaye. Sevan mukhahi jihvadav swayam eva swatyada. Those who are sevan mukha, those who are favorable to serve him, to them he will appear. They can do a lot of experiments. They can play, they can offer food, they can do so many things. But for those who are not inclined to do service to Lord, for them he is non-existent. So same, you won't go to people who are not interested in you, right? You will go to your dear friends who want to welcome you, are very interested to interact with you. God is also a person. So if somebody is not interested to see God, sometimes somebody doesn't want God, then God doesn't bother him, nor God will show up to him. So that is also a mercy, because he will come to a position where he will have to think about God. So God will come, but there is a process. But we want to do our process and want God to appear. No, we have to follow God's process, then God will appear. Like electron or God particle. No. You have to do collider, then only you will see God particle, or electron microscope, or some this gas chamber, you will see electron. You want to do your own experiment and want to see electron trace or something. It is not possible. You have to do the experiment according to what you want to see. Similarly, if you want to see God, you have to follow that process, not follow the process for amoeba. You want to follow the same process as amoeba, I want to see God. It's not possible. Do it for the pleasure of the Lord. So how to do it? Every activity for the pleasure of the Lord? Those who are already practicing, they can help. But in principle, every activity can be done for the pleasure of the Lord. There is no activity or no instrument, nothing in this world that cannot be engaged in pleasing the Lord. There is no act that cannot be engaged in, can be done for pleasing the Lord. So we need some guidance, like Krishna has his guidance for Arjuna. We can also, even science can be used for pleasing the Lord. So then science becomes a karma. If you use science for pleasing the Lord. So if you use science to serve the Lord, improving the soul, or in developing research which helps the some pertinent problem of humanity as a service of the Lord, so they all will become a karma. But if we only do for our satisfaction or for only for maintenance, our life maintenance. So if you become a nice scientist and work for the pleasure of the Lord, then you get both salary also, you get, it also become a karma. So that is what is the art of working. Yoga karmashu kausalam. So art of working is to work for the pleasure of the Lord. So in that, his body is taken care, mind is taken care, soul is taken care. That is a holistic paradigm of Lord Krishna given in Bhagavad Gita. Again, you have to think about God. It is easy to take easy path, but if you think about God, what he wants, then it is not very difficult. So it is neither moral thing that we should take up, it is neither practical things we should take up. We should endeavor for those things which will really please the Lord. So for Arjuna, it is neither moral nor practical to fight. He has given all the reasons in the first chapter, how it is immoral, sin, irreligious, so many things. So also not practical, because you cannot enjoy kingdom. So, but he has guidance of Krishna, where he has proper perspective, that it became both practical as well as moral. It is even more than moral, it is divine. So it is a proper perspective, which will give us wisdom to take right action.